Now, I want to move on because as I understand it, central banks want real estate prices to remain high so creditors can collect on their interest payments instead of having to write down unpayable debts. So isn't that a central piece of why we're using monetary policy here?
Yes, that's exactly correct. But the banks aren't lending more for mortgage credit. They're using it to speculate. They're using it to lend to third world countries, to do foreign currency arbitrage and to buy bonds of high-yielding countries. And so we're having a bubble in the junk bond market, not real estate.
Now, can you explain how real estate works in terms of land rent and the example of taxes and interest payments for creditors? But can you explain it in layman terms? Because as I understand it, so-called real estate investors want to pay all of their rent as interest to creditors so as to minimize their own equity stake, maximizing gains from appreciation. Is that correct?
That's pretty much right. Real estate is worth whatever a bank is going to lend against it. So essentially, suppose you're an absentee owner. It's easiest to understand that way. You look at how much rent a property will yield, and you go to a bank, and you try to bid against other people that are trying to borrow with a bank loan. And the winner of the bank loan is whoever is going to pay the most rent to the bank is debt service to carry the mortgage. So whoever will take out the largest mortgage gets to buy the property. And as banks loosen the credit terms, lower the interest rates, and make even easier credit, or simply lie, the winners are the people who go into the debt the most, and that's what's led the economy into this balance sheet depression, this debt leverage.
Now, how does this whole idea of leveraging up to gain from property price appreciation relate to the housing bubble?
Well, suppose it used to be that people had to put down, a homeowner would have to put down 30% of their income, and they could borrow 70%. And that limited the price rise according to, how much could be paid. But now, by 2007, 2008, people could buy homes without putting any money down at all, and the banks didn't even ask for amortization. You didn't have to pay off a mortgage in 30 years. So the entire rental value, either the rental value, or if you're a homeowner, the rental value of a home to you, you could afford to pay all this money to the bank for debt service instead of having to pay down the loan. And the banks at the same time mounted a whole campaign to cut real estate taxes. And if the taxes are left, they said, we'll cut real estate taxes to leave homeowners in a better position. But every time they cut the real estate tax, that just meant that people could pay, buyers could use this, what's left, to borrow even more money from the banks and go even further into debt. So nobody really gained at all except for the banks.
So what implications does this have for the residential property market?
Well, right now it means that there are not many people getting new loans, and most of the residential properties in the last years have been bought not with bank money, but for all cash by hedge funds that have come in and tried to buy up all of the distressed properties being sold. And right now, they've sort of run their course. Now the hedge funds are trying to sell out, but individuals still aren't able to get much bank credit for the property market. There's not all that much construction really taking place, so rents are going up, and prices are, there are warnings by Moody's and by other investor services that real estate prices are likely to go down because banks simply aren't lending.
Now, you describe what's happening in these markets as a case of rentier oligarchs extracting rents from the middle classes. So is that the right description of how you've been describing this?
Yes.
Can you expand upon that a little bit for me, the idea of rentier?
Yeah, it means a rentier is somebody who lives off either their rents or their income, who is passive. And a rentier, the banks are really in the positions of landlords 100 years ago. The banks it used to be that the landlords would get all of the rent. But today, now that property is all bought and sold freely, if you're a Donald Trump or if you're a real estate investor, your motto is rent is for paying interest. And so the banks end up with all of the rental value in the form of interest, and landlords are saying, well, look, we're willing to pay all the rent to the bankers and give them all the income. What we want is the capital gain is the price of our property keep going up. But right now, the price of property isn't going up anymore. There's no capital gain, so there's no motivation for speculators to come in and borrow like there was up to 2008. And at that time, speculators were about 1/6 of the market. Well, today, they're very little, except the people buying for all cash. And so the whole character of the market has changed, and that leaves only the homeowner.
That was Dr. Michael Hudson, the president of the Institute for the Study of Long-Term Economic Trends.